So RDS stands for Relational Database Service. Let me open up this notepad. So what is database service? So what is database actually? Say, for hosting a website, you know that we required web server. On the web server, we'll deploy our website and we'll serve that website to the world. So what is the purpose of this database server? On the previous class also I told you, on the websites, basically we had two types of websites. One is static website, the other is a dynamic website. Can anyone tell me the difference between the static and dynamic websites, please? I appreciate that. Anyone? So static website is nothing but a website we don't have any of this dynamic contents, like it's normally a plain text formatted website where we use this website for writing. We may write this website by using this HTML code. We don't store any data here, no data storage. When it comes to dynamic website, here we will store the data. Example, like for the banking website is a dynamic website where we stored our username, passwords, bank transactions and everything on this website. Example, Facebook, where we store all our photos. We'll upload the photos and we'll upload our comments, likes, posts and everything. We'll store that in this website. In static website is like an example, a blog or a story blog website. So here when you, how many times also you, ఈ వెబ్సైట్ ఏంటి అంటే ఎన్నిసార్లు ఓపెన్ చేసినా సేమ్ పేజ్ ఓపెన్ అవుతుందండి. అక్కడ డైనమిక్ కంటెంట్ ఉండదు, ఆ వెబ్సైట్ అనేది మారదు. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఒక వెబ్సైట్ రాశారు, సెల్ఫ్ బ్లాగ్ వెబ్సైట్. బ్లాగ్స్ అంటే ఏంటి, నార్మల్గా మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ది పీపుల్ రైట్ ద బ్లాగ్స్ వెబ్సైట్ talking about something, maybe the city, weather, or somebody writes the blogs on technical issues like how to install operating system అని ఒక బ్లాగ్ రాస్తారు. అది ఎన్నిసార్లు ఓపెన్ చేసిన వెబ్సైట్ అంతే ఉంటుంది, ఆ ఫొటోస్ ఉంటాయి, ఆ బ్లాగ్ ఉంటుంది. సో ఇట్స్ a static website. When it comes to dynamic website, Facebook, so as you scroll down, the post varies, ఆ ఫొటోస్ మారుతూ ఉంటాయి, వాటికి ఉన్న లైక్స్ మారుతూ ఉంటాయి. So all we can see the dynamic content on that website. So for this dynamic website, basic architecture ఎలా ఉంటుందంటే, it consists of one web server and database server backend to it. So whatever the dynamic contents we upload to this website from clients, that will store in this dynamic server, and we call the dynamic servers as database servers. సో అండ్ మార్కెట్లో చాలా డేటాబేస్ సర్వర్స్ ఉన్నాయి. MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server, MS SQL, PostgreSQL, Oracle Database Server. Even Amazon guy has his own database server and he called it as Amazon Aurora. Amazon Aurora. database server. So the functionality of all these database servers is to store the dynamic content only, but depending upon their uh, development, small changes ఉన్నాయి. అంటే మేబీ MySQL and MS SQL కి డిఫరెన్స్ ఏంటి అంటే MySQL is an open source database server and mainly we use this MySQL for this development purpose, and the size of upload content maybe varies with these different database servers, or the type of upload content may varies with these different database servers. So we had this relational database service is one of the Amazon Web Service. By using this service, we launched database servers. అంటే ఎలా ఉంటుందంటే అండి, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ లెట్ us టేక్ అన్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ facebook.com వెబ్సైట్ తీసుకుందాం. యాక్చువల్గా facebook.com ఈజ్ ఎ స్మాల్ వెబ్సైట్, కానీ ఆ వెబ్సైట్లో ఉండే వెబ్ కంటెంట్ ఉంటుంది, వెబ్సైట్లో ఉన్న వెబ్ కంటెంట్ వచ్చేసి స్టాటిక్ కంటెంట్ వచ్చేసి చాలా స్మాల్ అండి. బట్ డైనమిక్ కంటెంట్ ఏదైతే ఉందో ఈ పోస్ట్, లైక్స్, కామెంట్స్, so those are all stored in the database servers. So the database server size is very big. మనం ఎన్నిసార్లు ఓపెన్ చేసినా మనం వాట్ ఎవర్ ద ఫ్రెండ్స్, మన ఏ ఫ్రెండ్ ఓపెన్ చేసినా ఎవరు ఓపెన్ చేసినా ఫేస్బుక్ టెంప్లెట్ అనేది సేమ్గా ఉంటుంది. ఆ లాగిన్ పేజ్ కానివ్వండి, ఆ పక్కన చాట్ బాక్స్ కానివ్వండి, ఈ పోస్ట్ కానివ్వండి, సో అవి సేమ్గా ఉంటుంది. ఆ టెంప్లెటే విల్ కాల్ ఇట్ యాజ్ స్టాటిక్ కంటెంట్. కానీ ఆ టెంప్లెట్ లోపల కంటెంట్ మారుతూ ఉంటుంది. మేబీ టైమ్ లైన్ ఫోటో మారుతూ ఉంటుంది, మీ ప్రొఫైల్ పిక్ మారుతూ ఉంటుంది, ఆ పోస్ట్ ఫోటో మారుతూ ఉంటుంది, ఆ పోస్ట్ ఆ నెంబర్ మారుతూ ఉంటుంది, ఆ లైక్ నెంబర్ మారుతూ ఉంటుంది. A continuously change a content we call it as dynamic content, and that content will be stored in this database server. Okay, so Amazon guy is offering these database servers as a service to us, and he is calling that service as relational database service. So let us assume you had a website and you had a database server. What happens if this database server gets crashed? Something happened, a database server stuck అయింది అంటే ఎక్కువ, maybe due to the high usage of this database server, high request came from the clients, or maybe some internal hard disk problem, something happened and the database server went crash. So what happens? So your website will be down. So in order to escape in such kind of scenarios, what you have to do is you have to launch multiple database servers. అంటే ఆర్కిటెక్ట్ డయాగ్రామ్ ఎలా ఉంటుందంటే, లెట్ మీ టెల్ యూ. Web server, you'll have multiple database servers. Let us call it as database server 1 and database server 2. So there we'll have whatever the web content that is uploaded by these clients, and దాంట్లో డైనమిక్ కంటెంట్ ఏమవుతుందో డైనమిక్ కంటెంట్ వచ్చేసి మొత్తం డేటాబేస్ సర్వర్లో స్టోర్ అవుతుందండి. అండ్ విల్ మెయింటైన్ అన్ అనదర్ డేటాబేస్ సర్వర్, secondary database server, such a way that whatever that content that is uploaded to this primary database server will get replicated or synchronized. We'll call it as replicated or synchronized. So we'll replicate the data to the second primary server, such a way that if this primary server went down, then the secondary server starts serving the dynamic content to the web server. In failover cases, or maybe in weighted cases, I told you the different cases in Route 53 service లో చెప్పాను కదా బేసికల్గా. అండ్ డిఎన్ఎస్లో 3 types of servers types ఉంటాయండి. One is latency. Depending upon the latency will serve this website to the clients. Depending upon this weighted category will serve the website to the client. Depending upon the geographical location, will serve this hala. Maybe depending upon the failover. Maybe our purpose of creating these two database servers is failover అనుకుందాం. So if first thing went down, then it has to serve the second thing. దీంట్లో ఉన్న కంటెంట్ మొత్తం మీకు సర్వ్ చేయాలి అంటే we have to make sure that both the servers should replicate with each other, and we call this as replication. Like that we can maintain a multiple servers under one replication, and these multiple servers are connected to this web server. So that is how we have to maintain the database servers when it comes to production అంటే it's like when we are serving our website to the clients. So let me enter into this RDS service. So this is a dashboard of RDS service, and remember guys, this Amazon Go is offering this RDS service to you as a SaaS, software as a service. He's offering this service to you as SaaS. Why he is offering this service to ante he is taking care of the hardware, he is taking care of the operating system, he is taking care of the application that is installed on this operating system. మన కేసులో ఏంటి అప్లికేషన్ database server application or database server software. So he is promising that I'll take care of this hardware, I'll take care of this operating system, I'll take care of this whatever the server you launch. While launching whatever the server you specify, either it is MySQL server or Oracle server or Microsoft SQL server, PostgreSQL server or Amazon Aurora server. Server అంటే database servers అండి. So let us see. So for launching this database server, first we have to specify what should be the server size. And let us say if you had a very big website, then you may have a very big lot number of clients, and maybe they'll upload a lot number of contents to your web server, and that contents has to be stored in this database server. For this gathering, for performing all these actions, maybe your database servers requires a very huge capacity, or the resource capacity should be very huge for that. Maybe 8 GB RAM you require, depending upon the time being, maybe you require 16 GB. So first think how many customers I had, how many people will access it, my website, and how many queries I'll get from this web server to this database server. See, basically database server will not serve the content, అంటే తనలో ఉన్న database content ని will not serve to the client directly. How it serves is, it serves the content to the clients through the web server. Web server, database server, clients. So clients will access the website that is deployed on this web server directly, but they cannot access this dynamic content directly. So the dynamic content has to be served through this web server. Okay, so my agenda of saying this point is, so database server will be open only to this web server. So nobody can access this database server directly from the world or outside. So while creating the database server, we have to specify the firewall rules on this database server, or the security group rules on this database server, such a way that it is only open to your web server. And make sure that this database server is not public faced. It's not public faced. It should be a private faced. నేను చెప్పాను Prati server key will have two IP addresses. One is public IP and private IP. Similarly, web server will have two IP addresses. One is public and private. Through this public IP address, we are serving this website to this world. But in order to communicate this web server with database server, always use private IP address. And database server కూడా పబ్లిక్ ఉంటుంది, ప్రైవేట్ IP address ఉంటుందండి. ఈ పబ్లిక్ IP address ని బ్లాక్ చేయండి. Block such a way that nobody can access this database servers through the public IP address, and allow this database servers to communicate with web server only through private IP. Are you clear on this point, guys? Any doubts on this point what we have discussed? Okay, I hope no doubts. So we'll proceed further. So this is the dashboard of Amazon RDS. So here first we have to launch a database server. We can launch the database server by clicking here, launch a database server. So here by default Amazon guy is offering you this database servers for launching 3 DBs, and one is you can launch the MySQL server with the help of this RDS server, or you can launch this MariaDB server with the help of this RDS, Postgre, Oracle and Microsoft SQL. మార్కెట్లో ఇంకా చాలా డేటాబేస్ సర్వర్స్ ఉన్నాయి. MongoDB database server, but Amazon guy is offering only these 5 types of service database servers with him. So let us see how we launch this MySQL database server. See, there are some differences between the different servers. See, with MySQL he's saying it supports a maximum of 6 TB. Database size అనేది దాని హార్డ్ డిస్క్ అనేది 6 TB ఉంటుందండి. Maximum 6 TB database size you can upload the contents of 6 TB by using this MySQL server. And the biggest size of this MySQL server this Amazon guy is offering is with a resource capacity of 32 virtual CPUs compute and 244 GB RAM. Okay, and another thing he specified is at the last point supports cross region read replicas. Here you can see what is this cross region read replicas. As I said you, maybe on the failover cases if you wanted to launch this database servers on a multiple regions and you wanted to keep this each database servers with another by using this replication concept or synchronization concept. So what you'll do, you launch multiple servers, multiple database servers at different availability zones. So while launching the database server you have to choose first a region lo launch చేస్తున్నాము చూడండి. In which region I wanted to launch my database server, whether it is Singapore or Ireland or Tokyo. Choose the region. Second, choose the instance type. What is the instance type? What is the instance size? T2.micro or M3.medium. Choose the instance size. Third, choose whether it should be a individual database server or cross region read replica database servers. అంటే ఏంటి అంటే you are launching the database server in Singapore అండి. But if you specify that I wanted to launch this database servers on this cross region, what he'll do, he'll launch 2 servers for you in availability zones of the database server on that region. Let us assume Singapore has 2 availability zones. So ఇక్కడ ఏంటి అంటే మీకు ఒకటే database server కనిపిస్తుంది. and back end లో ఏంటి, if you check mark this cross region while launching, తను యాక్చువల్గా 2 VMs లాంచ్ చేస్తాడండి. ఒకటి availability zone 1A లో, ఇంకోటి availability zone 1B లో. And he'll represent you this both VMs as a single node, as a single instance in your RDS service. At the backend he is maintaining a multiple database servers by using this cross region. That's the reason he said cross region read replicas. Sorry, cross regions is not about the availability zones, it's about the regions. See, if you wanted to maintain, so we call availability zones multiple launch it, and we call that as multi-agent deployments. అంటే multiple availability zone deployments. And if you want to launch this MySQL server as a backup services or on the failover cases across the different regions, let us say if you want to have a primary server at Singapore and the secondary server at Ireland, you can do that. అట్లా different MariaDB ఏంటి అంటే database size maximum is 6 GB and MySQL కూడా 6 GB. Different these are the main differences. So we'll go with MySQL, select. So he's asking, why do you want to launch this database service? Do you want to launch this database service for the production purpose or the development or testing purpose? So first ఏంటంటే మనం product develop చేస్తాం, then we'll test it, next we'll make it live అంటే production customers కి ఇస్తాం. So to customer మీరు గిన ఒకవేళ database server, if you wanted to launch this for dev testing, the second option here, and he's saying I launch only one database server in the region you specified here, Singapore, in any one of the availability zone. If you wanted to go with production, I'll recommend you to launch, you go with multi-agent deployment and multiple availability zone deployments. So here on the back end, he'll launch two servers for us. ఒకటి passive లో ఉంటుంది, ఒకటి ఫెయిల్ అయినా ఇంకో నుంచి పాస్, ఎందుకంటే వీఆర్ డీలింగ్ విత్ ప్రొడక్షన్, వీఆర్ డీలింగ్ విత్ కస్టమర్ సైడ్. So for this time being, what I'll do, I'll go with this dev and testing, because when you go with this agent deployment, I'll charge a lot. Okay, next. So he is asking, specify the version. See, MySQL will have different of versions, right? That's an application, database server application. Maybe 5.6.27, which is highlighted, is a version of 2016 January ఉండొచ్చు, ఫిబ్రవరిలో 6.29, మార్చ్లో 7.10, జూలైలో 7.11. Like that, what happens, they'll fix the bugs of previous versions, vulnerabilities of previous versions, and they'll release these new versions continuously. So here he is telling you which version you wanted to launch with this database server. So choose the version number, and next he's asking you what is the database server size, instance size you wanted to launch. I launch a very small one. I'll go with one virtual CPU and 1 GB RAM. Next, you wanted that to be a multi-agent deployment? No. If I say yes, he launched two servers on the back end. So I'll go for no. So what is the storage type you wanted to attach to this database server? So I'll go with magnetic because the price is cheap. But I'll recommend you always go with, guys, I recommend you always go with SSDs. For testing purpose, I was going for this magnetic. And what is the size of the database you wanted it to be? For time being, I'll take it as 10 GB. Next. So he's telling to name your database, and that name should be unique. So I'll let it as test case AWS DB server. Okay, and now here comes this authentication part into the database server. So he's asking, so give the username for this master. It's like a root username. So I'll give the username as root. So this is a root user, we can say, and the password for that username. So okay. Okay, so on this page what I did, I specified this version of this MySQL server. I specified the instance type, the size of the MySQL server, and the storage type and the storage size of the MySQL server. And we have created a user. We given the username and the password to authenticate into this MySQL server. So next step, password does not match. So now he's asking, on Singapore region you had multiple VPCs. See, on which VPC you wanted to create this database server. I'll go with the default VPC, the first VPC. Under this VPC, there are different security, and whichever in any specific availability zone you wanted to launch the servers. I said in Singapore we had two availability zones, 1A or 1B. I can say if you want, it's not mandatory to launch this server in 1A region on 1B. You can just keep it as no preference. According to his will, he'll launch it. Or else you can specify to launch the server in 1A region, sorry, in 1A availability zone. So whether this database server should have this public access or not. For time being, we'll give this public access because I wanted to authenticate into this database server. For that reason, I'll give this yes, and we'll restrict for that public access by using the security groups. So database name, test case, AWS. So port number 3306. So these are the options, database options and backups. So do you want to maintain any backups on this database server? See what happens sometimes, a database data will get corrupt on some scenarios. Let us say it's working from the in నిన్నటిదాకా బాగానే వర్క్ చేస్తుందండి. From the past day on the yesterday it started behaving unusually, maybe due to the content or miscellaneous content uploaded by some client, or some virus content is uploaded by some client or something. So in such cases you cannot delete all the database servers, or you cannot repair. In such cases what you do, it's better you maintain a backup of daily. So here he's providing an option. So he's suggesting you to go to maintain a backup with his database servers. He's giving us an option to how many days backup we should maintain. Previous 7 days backup or 10 days backup. You can specify here the time period of backups to maintain. So here I'll go with previous 2 days of backup. Next is backup window. Backup window అంటే any specific time you wanted to backup your database server, or according to database servers database region ఉంటుంది కదండి, AWS region, సింగపూర్ region లో వాళ్ళకంటూ ఒక టైం ఉంటుంది database servers ని డిఫాల్ట్ గా బ్యాకప్స్ చేయడానికి. ఆ టైంలో తీసుకోమంటావా? If you wanted to go with any specified time, select window and give the time. So daily take the backup at morning 6 o'clock. You can specify like that, 6 o'clock. And next is monitoring services. Do you want to enable any monitoring services? By enabling these monitoring services, you will monitor the database server utilization. So what kind of monitoring role you wanted to enable? So how much time for time period? For every 60 seconds our database server will get monitored by using CloudWatch service. There is a service with Amazon Web Services, a monitoring services. That service we call it as CloudWatch. I'll tell you in the next class what is CloudWatch and all this. Next is maintenance. So if any newer version comes, say I selected 5.6.20, maybe after 2 months a newer version comes. So automatically do you want to upgrade to that newer version or not? Here we can say no, don't never upgrade this to newer version, because in some scenarios we'll have this database version dependencies. కంపెనీస్లో ఎలా ఉంటాయంటే అండి, ఒక ప్రోడక్ట్ డెవలప్ చేస్తారు ఒక వర్షన్తోనే. సో they'll say, so if this database server upgrades to the newer version, might be the product doesn't work. అలాంటి scenariosలో, so it's better we specify here never upgrade automatically to the newer version. Okay, if you wanted to update with the newer version, and again he also asking what maintenance window at a time, ఏ టైంలో అప్డేట్ చేయమంటారు, నైట్ 11 or 12, like that we can specify the time here too. By clicking on here launch db instance, now it gets launched. Launch db instance, no, he is launching the database server. So here we got a pop-up message successful in green color saying that your database instance is being created. So again he is notifying us with a small note, your instance may take a few minutes to launch. Okay, no problem, we'll wait for that. So next, second concept here specifying connect to your database instance. So in order to connect to your database server, we allowed this database server for public. As creating the database server is specified it, right? Now to whom should we connect, to whom should we give the access? Here from the security groups we can specify that. You can see the status, it's still creating. See, I have another server, I named it web server db, and it is running available and its CPU utilization is just 5%, and the type is gb.m3.medium, where I launched it in the first VPC. Is it multi-agent deployment? Yes, it is. I launched it for multi-agent deployments. Guys, any doubts on this till now? Arun, Naveen, Ravi, do you have any doubts on this till what we discussed?
No doubts.
No doubts. Still creating. You can see the monitoring of this server. Show monitoring. The CPU utilization, what way with the server is undergoing, how many connections are there, what is the storage are utilized, memory, Any write operations, read operations per second, how much the hard disk is undergoing. You can view the complete graph about the database server by enabling these monitoring services. Now he's backing up the status. We can see what exactly they are doing with the database server from here on the status. It's like it starts with creating, or launching, available, or power off, stop, deleted, terminated. Everything we can see by on the status bar. So they created the server and they are backing up the server before they are handing over to us. Have they provided any endpoint for us? Yes, we got an endpoint. This is what, by using this endpoint, it's like a address. By using this address, we can connect to this database server. So in order to connect to this database server, MySQL, we had an application, or we had a client-side application or software. We call that software as Workbench, MySQL Workbench. That I had installed in my PC. I'll open that, MySQL Workbench. Okay, from here we'll create a new connection for this. So this is a Workbench GUI. I'll show you. Just click on this plus button. So name that connection we'll make this as test case AWS. For our remembrance, I was naming it, and give the URL. Okay, that is one. And remove that port number 3306. And username we have given root, right? Password, we have to enter the password here. What we have given there. While creating the DB instance we created, right? Okay. Next we'll test the connection whether it is connecting or not. Test connection. Successfully made the MySQL connection with it. Okay. No. Press okay. So right now we entered into this database server. This is a client-side database server application. From here we can create all the databases. Right now I had 3 databases in it. We call it as schemas. If you want to create another schema, right click, create schema, name the schema, test case, and apply. So this is what the query, MySQL query we have to enter. So this application is doing that, apply. So it's executing yes, and we got created a new schema. And the server status you can view from here. Right now the server is working position and it has this 4 connections like this. How many users and everything, performance and everything we can see from this dashboard by using this client-side application. We can write queries, we can create tables, we can create schemas, we can create tables. So this is something database related queries అండి. అంటే మీకు ఏమొస్తుందంటే రేపు మార్నింగ్ ఆఫీస్లో జాయిన్ అయ్యాక you'll get a ticket saying that I need database MySQL database server in one of the region Singapore with a multi-agent deployment ఖాతా. సో లాంచ్ అన్న టికెట్ వస్తే మీరు అప్పుడు లాంచ్ చేసి ఆ ఎండ్ పాయింట్ యూఆర్ఎల్ యూజర్ నేమ్ పాస్వర్డ్ అనేది డెవలపర్స్ కానివ్వండి వారికి కానివ్వండి ఇవ్వాలి. దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ యూ వర్క్. సో ఇట్స్ బెటర్ యూ లర్న్ more and expose yourself more about this MySQL workbench. Like that we have other kind of servers, right? Oracle database server, MS SQL, Microsoft, PostgreSQL. You learn about it. So this is how we launch these database servers by using this Amazon Web Services console. And if you want to, you can see the snapshots also. From these snapshots, you can see today he took a backup of his database server. ఇవన్నీ మిగతా ఏంటి అంటే అనదర్ ఐ హ్యావ్ అనదర్ డేటాబేస్ సర్వర్ రైట్, వాటి ప్రీవియస్ 7 days స్నాప్షాట్స్ అండి. సో like that he'll maintain the snapshots. If you want to recover from the snapshot, just click here, restore snapshot. అంటే ఆ స్నాప్షాట్ తీసుకున్నప్పుడు ఏ డేటా ఉందో అక్కడికి రిస్టోర్ అయిపోతుంది. So if you want to delete this database server, guys, any doubts on this? How to create this database server, launch this instance, and connect to this database server? So that if you no doubts, I'll proceed and I'll delete this database server. I'll show you how to delete this too. Ravi, any doubts?
Yes, Karthik. Actually, I missed 30 minutes class. Can you please explain once again? I was a little bit out in an instant.
Oh, Ravi, I'll share you the video.
Oh, okay.
Okay. See, I cannot see. Click on this launch button to launch the database server.
Okay.
Select which engine you wanted to launch, which kind of database server you wanted to launch.
Okay.
Whether what kind of database server you wanted to launch, whether it is multi-agent deployment or single database. The difference between this multi-agent deployment and single database server is, if you create here, if you choose this, you'll get on the back end he'll launch 2 servers for you on different availability zones he had with Singapore region. As I said, he has 2 availability zones with Singapore region, 1A and 1B. So he'll launch 2 virtual machines on this both regions. But మీకు మాత్రం ఇక్కడ ఇన్స్టెన్స్ ఏంటి అంటే ఒకటే చూపిస్తుంది. Okay.
Okay.
Next, specify the DB parameters like database version ఏంటి, instance size ఏంటి, 4 virtual CPUs, 30 GB RAM, and specify the hard disk, type of hard disk, and specify the database username and password for authenticating into the database after you launching this database server.
Okay.
And creating on the next step, so next in which region, sorry, we already choose the region, right? So which VPC, like in Singapore I had 7 VPCs, 7 LAN.
Okay.
In which LAN you wanted to launch this database server? Either it should
Okay.
be public faced or private faced. And
Okay.
like, do you want to maintain any backups on this? If so, what are the maximum time period of backups you wanted to maintain? For maintaining
Okay.
the backups also, he'll charge extra price. And if you want to enable monitoring services, for this also he'll charge an extra price. Everything you can find, ఇవన్నీ ఫీచర్స్ ఇస్తున్నాడు కదా, ఎస్ ఆర్ నో అంటే ప్రతి ఎస్ వెనకాల he'll charge some price, additional price, so that you can found that additional price by googling AWS RDS price.
Price.
Okay,
Okay.
AWS RDS pricing. Here you can find for what he's charging how much. Okay, just by clicking on launch DB, the DB will get launched. Right now we launched our
Okay.
DB
Okay.
similarly, and we named it as test case AWS. And we have to check whether, and he'll provide expanding this instance. Here you can see the endpoint. Endpoint is nothing but the URL to communicate or to authenticate into the server. So
Sorry, you
because
are ready to committed?
yes, he'll provide a URL. We call that URL as endpoint
Okay.
URL to authenticate into that
Okay.
server. Normal guarantee,
Uh-huh.
how you'll do authenticate with this Windows or Linux servers by using the IP address and the port number.
I,
ఇక్కడ ఏంటి, because he is offering this service, this database server to you as a service, right? SAS, he's offering this service as a SAS, software as a service to you. So he's saying, I'll take care of this operating system, I'll take care of this hardware, I'll take care of this MySQL application installation and application crash అవుతుంది అంతా నేను చూసుకుంటానండి. I'll give 99.99% of SLA on this. You just care about your data and how much backup, how much data backup you wanted to maintain on the data. అది మాత్రం స్పెసిఫై చేయండి, డేటాబేస్ సైజ్ ఎంత స్పెసిఫై చేయండి అని చెప్పారు. సో కాపీ దిస్ URL, and we had a workbench client, అది నా సిస్టంలో ఇన్స్టాల్ అయింది, and we call it as workbench, sorry, MySQL workbench. That is an MySQL client side application. So okay, we created a one new connection on it, we named that connection, we specified the endpoint URL and the port number. While creating this the MySQL server, whatever the username and password we have given, just enter here and check it. We got the successful connection, and we authenticated into this database server. On the database server, we create schemas and we maintain all the database under the schemas. ఇక్కడ ఏంటి అంటే every schema is nothing but it's like a database. డేటా ఎలా స్టోర్ చేసుకుందంటే database లో మన ఎక్సెల్ షీట్ ఉంటుంది కదండి, మైక్రోసాఫ్ట్ ఎక్సెల్ షీట్. సో సిమిలర్లీ అలానే it will show all the data in rows and columns. Okay, this is how, this is what about the database server and the Amazon RDS. How do we launch the database server with Amazon RDS? So any doubts guys on this? Arun, any doubts? Kishore?
No, it's clear.
You Srinivas, any doubts?
కార్తిక టేబుల్స్ స్కీమాస్ స్టోర్ పేజెస్ ఉన్నాయి కదా
Mm-hmm.
డేటాబేస్ లో అవి మనం క్రియేట్ చేసుకోవాలా లేకపోతే
అది it's none of your business అండి. He'll take care of. మీ AWS లో మీకు టికెట్స్ ఎలా వస్తాయి, డేటాబేస్ సర్వర్ కావాలి, నాకు ఈ డేటాబేస్ సర్వర్ ఈ రీజియన్ లో అది కావాలని టికెట్ వస్తుంది. ఇంకా డీటెయిల్ గా వాట్ ఈస్ డేటాబేస్, వాట్ ఈస్ డేటాబేస్ టేబుల్ అండ్ ఎవ్రీథింగ్ అంటే దేర్ ఇస్ అనదర్ కోర్స్ ఫర్ దిస్, దట్ డేటాబేస్ అడ్మినిస్ట్రేషన్ కోర్స్. అది ఇంకా డీటెయిల్,
ఓకే ఓకే
దట్ ఈస్ డిఫరెంట్ కోర్స్. ఓకే, we are not into that.
ఓకే
బేసిక్ ఓవర్ చెప్తాను. డేటాబేస్ లో విల్ స్టోర్ ఆల్ దట్ కంటెంట్ ఇన్ ఎక్సెల్ షీట్. అంటే కాలమ్స్ ఉంటాయి కదా, సెల్స్ ఉంటాయి కదా, అలా స్టోర్ చేస్తారు. దెన్ యుల్ క్రియేట్ టేబుల్స్, కాలమ్స్, రోస్. అండర్ ద కాలమ్స్ అండ్ రోస్ యుల్ స్టోర్ ఆల్ ద డేటా. ఇట్స్ డిఫరెంట్ డేటాబేస్. You can Google it on YouTube. YouTube లో కూడా వీడియోస్ చూడొచ్చు. వాట్ ఈస్ డేటాబేస్ సర్వర్, హౌ డేటాబేస్ సర్వర్ స్టోర్స్ ది డేటా ఇన్ ఇట్ అని కొన్ని క్వెరీస్ చేసి యు లెర్న్ అబౌట్ ఇట్, so that you'll understand very clearly how the database server stores the data and what is the functionality of database server. I said you, from the functionality part, database server is used only for storing the dynamic content of the website. Okay.
Okay. Hmm. Okay.
So how do we launch this database servers with Amazon Web Services? What are the types of database services? He's offering the 5 types different database servers for launching with RDS. లేదు నాకు వేరే ఒక ఇక్కడ MongoDB, there is another database server in the market, MongoDB. If you want to launch the MongoDB, he is not offering that as to you in RDS. Then what you do, you launch the instance in EC2, and if you know to the installation and configuration of this MongoDB, you build a new MongoDB server with the help of on that EC2, and you can sell that MongoDB database server in the market also. Okay. That's it, guys, on this today's class. Any doubts you had on this today's class on this RDS service? సో ఏం చేయండి అంటే అన్ని ఇన్స్టెన్సెస్ టర్మినేట్ చేసి you launch a small instance, RDS instance, MySQL instance in your account, and you install this MySQL Workbench on your laptops. Search in Google
Okay.
how to install MySQL Workbench. MySQL Workbench install చేసి after launching this RDS database server, you try to authenticate from your computer into the database server whatever you launched with this AWS account. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, that's it. Anything else, guys? Okay, that's it for today. We'll end up this class, and tomorrow we'll talk about this CloudWatch, the monitoring service of Amazon Web Services. So CloudWatch, what it does, it monitors all the resources utilization, all the instances utilization. What is the RAM utilization, hard disk utilization, SNS utilization, SCSU, how many mails you send, how many SMSs you send, everything it monitors. Okay, we'll talk about it tomorrow class. Okay, that's it. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Yeah. Bye, Kadip.
Any doubts, please ping me on WhatsApp or reply me on Google Groups. Thank you.